Just how far would the United States go to protect their allies in Saudi Arabia regarding civil litigation for the September 11, 2001 attacks? Well, let me take you to an article written by ProPublica in January 2020 when they wrote about the latest Encore, Operation Encore files, right? So here we have, we'll just take part. Washington's efforts to keep secrets about possible Saudi connections to 9/11 have also intensified. Former FBI agents who have made court statements in support of the 9/11 families have been warned by the Bureau that they risk violating secrecy laws. Ken Williams, a retired agent who wrote a prescient memo, which is called the infamous Phoenix Memo, before 9/11 about radical Arab students taking flying lessons in possible preparation for hijackings, said in a sworn declaration for the plaintiffs that an FBI lawyer told him that the Trump administration did not want him to help them because it could imperil good relations with Saudi Arabia, and the FBI declined to comment further. It also went on to say the full story of the FBI's investigation into Saudi links to the 9/11 attacks have remained largely untold. Even the code name of the operation, Operation Encore, has never been published before. This account is based on interviews with more than 50 current and former investigators, intelligence officials, and witnesses in the case. It also draws on some previously secret documents as well as a voluminous public files of bipartisan 9/11 Commission. Now, just to add to this, this is before the Canistrell document came out, right? Operation Encore was basically a follow-up to the FBI's largest investigation in history, which was called Pent Bomb. After that, in 2007, Operation Encore began when Danny Gonzalez, who's a San Diego FBI agent, along with some New York FBI agents, became more in tune about getting to the bottom of Saudi Arabian links with the 9/11 hijackers before 9/11. And what they uncovered was information that wasn't uncovered in the Pent Bomb investigation because the 9/11 Commission, the FBI, the CIA, and later on in a 2015, another commission report stated that there was no Saudi government involvement with the 9/11 hijackers. However, with the latest revelations from the Canistrell files, we found out that it was indeed the CIA and Saudi intelligence that were inside the United States monitoring who? Two 9/11 hijackers that were known Al-Qaeda operatives that had a meeting in Malaysia and meeting with the alleged mastermind of the Cole bombing, which the FBI was investigating. Operation Encore basically talked about the alleged links of the Saudi government involved with the 9/11 hijackers, people like Omar al-Bayoumi, Moussaid al-Jarrah, Fahad al-Tamari, and others. Now, let's talk about that declaration by Ken Williams. I've interviewed Ken Williams, and it was one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. And basically, what he said was he regretted the fact that he didn't initially help with the plaintiffs in their investigation, but he basically did help with create a law firm about what he had learned before 9/11. Now, let's read that sworn statement. So as you can see, we'll read it together. Declaration of Kenneth Williams. I, Kenneth Williams, being duly sworn, declare and state as follows. My full name is Kenneth J. Williams. I am a former supervisory special agent for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, having completed the 4-month law enforcement and investigative training at FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia in 1990. Prior to this, I was a police officer in San Diego from 1986 to 1990. When I graduated the FBI Academy in 1990, I was assigned to the Phoenix field office where I began work investigating financial crimes. Beginning in 1991, I began working in the counterterrorism group and remained there for the rest of my FBI career until my retirement on May 31st, 2017. I worked as a special agent in counterterrorism on international counterterrorism investigations in Phoenix, Arizona, beginning in 2003. I led Phoenix Squad 23 and had approximately 10 special agents assigned to the squad. in 1999, prior to the September 11, 2001 attacks, I opened an FBI investigation. Let me blow it up a little bit more. Concerning information developed by my squad that several Saudi nationals residing in Phoenix were extremists associated with Al-Qaeda. On July 10, 2001, I wrote a memo to FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. and the FBI's New York office concerning Zakaria Mustafa Subra, Ghassan al-Sharbi, and the Islamic Army of the Caucasus. My memo reported that a group of Saudi students in Arizona appeared to have radical Sunni fundamentalist views dedicated to the overthrow of Western society and violent jihad against the United States. Included in my 8-page report, attached here too with redactions still classified, was the following warning. The purpose of this communication is to advise the Bureau and New York of the possibility of a coordinated effort by Osama bin Laden to send students to the United States to attend civil aviation universities and colleges. These individuals will be in a position in the future to conduct terror activities against civil aviation targets. Now, let me add more to this. Ken Williams had an informant working with the Islamic community. His name was Henry Allen. He passed away a couple of years ago. But he was a Muslim convert. And he had met with Yasser Arafat, the leader of the PLO, many years prior. So this guy really was an important connection with the Islamic community in Phoenix, Arizona. He was feeding me information about radical fundamentalists that were operating in conjunction with other extremists with ties to Afghanistan and bin Laden, one being Zakaria Mustafa Subra, who had no connection with Al-Qaeda, but was an affiliate. Ken Williams, along with another agent, went to Subra's house, and the guy basically was a roaring fundamentalist. In his house, he had pictures of Osama bin Laden and somebody else. I think it's Simon El-Zuhairi or somebody else, or Omar Abdul Rahman, one of them. Ken Williams said, we got to watch this guy, right? This guy's dangerous, because he was telling them that the United States should be attacked for being allied with Israel and the Palestinian problem that is currently happening. And of course, the first Gulf War was mentioned. Neither FBI headquarters nor FBI New York responded to my July 2001 memo, which became known as the Phoenix Memo. This is true. President Bush didn't read it until 2002. He didn't even know it existed. John O'Neill, counterterrorism in New York, didn't think it was important enough. It didn't have a direct connection to Osama bin Laden. But the memo was warning of fundamentalist training at flight schools. Later on, Harry Samad, who was an FBI agent out of Minneapolis, he was responsible for arresting Zacharias Moussaoui. Moussaoui wanted to train at flight schools in Minnesota. He came out of Oklahoma, who had terrorist ties in France and Germany, in which he wanted to learn how to fly the plane but not land. He was asking a lot of suspicious questions and inquiries that brought him to the attention of the FBI. So Williams' memo really was very important, but nobody really took it seriously. The FBI was already aware that in November of 1999, 2 Saudi students, Mohammed al-Kudahin and Hamdan al-Shalawi, had twice attempted to enter the cockpit of an American West flight from Phoenix to Washington, D.C. The ostensible purpose of their trip was to attend an event at the Saudi embassy. Their tickets were paid by Saudi officials at the embassy. Based on our investigation, we concluded that they were conducting a possible dry run for future hijacking. Yes, it was suspected they were doing that because they went to the cockpit twice and thought it was the bathroom. Even after the first time they were told, no, the bathroom's in the back, they still went. They were asking about how to shut off oxygen for the plane and stuff, really asking invasive questions that brought them to the attention of the security services. And later on, the FBI actually interviewed them and they were let go. The two men were temporarily detained by the FBI. The Saudi embassy protested and complained of racial profiling. The investigation was shut down shortly thereafter. I later learned that Subra and Shalawi were friends. Well, thick as thieves, are we? There's a good connection. The Phoenix FBI office later found that Shalawi and Kudahin had been in contact with future 9/11 hijacker Hani Hanjour at a mosque in Tempe, Arizona. There you go. During the post-9/11 investigation, neither I nor anyone from FBI Phoenix were consulted prior to the interviews of Shalawi or Kudahin and other Phoenix students in Saudi Arabia. I made several requests to travel to Saudi Arabia to participate in the interviews of the subjects that we had investigated so that the information we learned could be properly utilized in the questioning. My requests were denied. In fact, I never received any response. So here you have the FBI, the Department of Justice, the superiors acting in accordance with White House officials in protecting the interests that is Saudi Arabia. Now, whether the White House knew about the extremist problem, probably so, because you have principals meetings, which are meetings of the highest officials involved with the intelligence services and the Department of Defense, talking about the imminent dangers to the United States national security apparatus and their interests. So extremism had to have been at the forefront, especially in 2001. I subsequently learned that the relevant interviews were done by FBI Special Agent Jackie McGuire. No information was shared with me or my squad concerning those interviews. I was pulled off the Al-Qaeda group and reassigned to a group that would investigate unrelated terror groups, Hamas and Hezbollah, at the end of 2002, because Hamas and Hezbollah had nothing to do with 9/11. I retired from the FBI on May 31st, 2017. In October 2017, I was contacted by Andrew Maloney of Kreidler & Kreidler, a member of the plaintiff's executive committee representing thousands of 9/11 victims who filed suit against the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Mr. Maloney had redacted copies of my July 2001 memo and other FBI documents related to the America West dry run flight and our investigation of Al-Qaeda terrorists in Arizona. He had questions, but was clear that he would not ask me to reveal any classified information, nor would I ever provide such information unless authorized. Nonetheless, out of an abundance of caution, I advised him that I needed to speak first with FBI Legal Counsel in Phoenix before answering any questions. I then spoke with FBI Counsel Stephanie Jacobs and advised her that I had been contacted by legal counsel for the 9/11 victims. Ms. Jacobs expressed concerns and said she would need to contact the Office of the General Counsel at the FBI in Washington. Shortly thereafter, I received a phone call from the Office of General Counsel, who instructed me not to answer any questions and said the following: there is other litigation involving the U.S. government going on, and any cooperation by you may negatively impact that case. The Trump administration is trying to have good relations with Saudi Arabia, and they do not want you to give a deposition or cooperate with counsel for the families. Why not? Because oil is thicker than blood. And because we need to protect our interests, screw the 9/11 victims' families. Don't help them. Because it may ruin relations. Or will it reveal what the Canestraro documents revealed? Will it also reveal other information that we're not privy to that's classified or may not even exist? I'm just speculating. I happen to think here you have the federal government who doesn't care about the people. They just don't. I mean, this is just, this is proof. If they're doing this to 9/11 victims' families, what do you think they're doing to me and you? They don't give a shit. No matter who you vote for. This happened under Obama, Bush, Trump. At the time, I unfortunately followed this directive and refused to speak with the counsel for the families. I was concerned that further contact with the families' counsel could threaten my FBI pension benefits. I now regret that I did not speak with counsel when they first reached me. I declare under the penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true to the best of my knowledge. However, he did help quite later on, a couple of years after this statement. He did the right thing. He's one of the few. I'm very glad I got to interview him. And, you know, yep, you can say what you want about the FBI superiors afterwards. But when you have people like Ken Williams and Robert Wright Jr. and Mark Rossini, Harry Samet, Colleen Rowley, Doug Miller, Ali Soufan, you know, there's a lot of people that tried their best in sharing pertinent information that if it didn't go unheeded, probably could have stopped part of the 9/11 attacks, or maybe even all of it, not just the FBI. Now imagine if all the intelligence services were working diligently, honestly, 9/11 would never have happened. So we need, as a public, we need to do our duty to inform each other responsibly about the latest revelations involved with the 9/11 attacks. I'm not going to let this story go. I don't care if I sound like a broken record. These revelations to Encore and Canisteo need to be reaching at the highest levels of the government. We got to get to somebody in alt media with a big platform to give attention to this story. The gray zone is not enough, unfortunately. As great as they are, Aaron Mate and Max Blumenthal, thankfully for them, Franco Macetic of Jacobin did a great article on it. And we need more. We need more. We need a big outlet. And whether it's me or somebody else, I don't care if it's me. I want the information out there. And it needs to reach a big platform. And I'm not going to stop. Thank you for watching the video, and see you in the next one. Good night.